collectively, unions contribute more to political parties than any other entity in the country. What happens is these unions will then negotiate contracts with the government for more union dues, if you will, and then that gets funneled back into the political sphere, and then the cycle just continues. And that should be illegal. That should not be allowed to happen, because now you're collectively bargaining with the government for your own selfish interests, and that shouldn't happen.
You have 20% of your kids, adults today, with dyslexia of some sort. 40% of adults are illiterate, so they don't know. So my belief is, let's teach them how to read phonetically and use the Federalist Papers, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution. That's their preamble. That's what they use. Those are the books they use to learn to read on. So when they're learning to read, they learn what the First Amendment really is about, what the Second Amendment is really about.
When each generation doesn't know what their rights are easily stripped away. They're more easily infringed upon. And when they don't know what those rights mean and what they stand for, then it's easier to take those rights away.
And the best way to make them not know their rights is if they don't know how to read very well.
We need to reinforce education at with the teachers. Teachers need to be able to teach, and any teacher that has to come out of pocket to buy school supplies for their own students, that's embarrassing. We should be embarrassed as a society for allowing such a thing to happen.
Especially when a teachers union spend $86,000 on coming to a party in Vegas,
$700,000 on a trip to Bangkok or something. It was ridiculous. That
money could have gone to buy a few school supplies.
The top union salaries are $400,000 a year. Yeah, wasteful.
Big thing is to name them and shame them. Name these specific union leaders, put their pictures everywhere, name them, tell them, hey, this person spent $500,000 on a trip to Hawaii for her 7 friends. That's $500,000 that could be redistributed to teachers and bonuses or school supplies or anything.
Universal basic income is a deeply American idea. It's been with us since the founding of the country. We can afford it if we just tax tech companies with value-added tax. And it'll help everyone it'll abolish poverty and it'll help revive the middle class. It will supercharge small businesses, create millions of jobs. And then democracy dollars is to get corporate lobbyists out of politics. That's another important issue. Human-centered capitalism, we need to stop chasing the almighty dollar.
I don't trust 95% of the media. I think they're biased. They're pumped by their advertisers. They're pumped by, I guess you can call it the establishment, deep state, the globalist system. They're misleading our society. They are the #1 enemy of the American people, and I think people have to get sources from all over and do their own research.
Voting for whoever wants to restore the democracy. I feel like we've turned into a corporocracy. A country run by corporations and special interests. Yang has said made some pretty interesting marks of how to restore things.
Where it's to help stand for all children. Because I'm gonna find out where my grandson is. And see, with that being, is that they didn't have no probable cause, no DA, no judge, no case. So I don't understand how the system is failing children. Why is the system failing children and families? Why?
My name is Howard Park, and I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. And healthcare is #1 for me because it's the one thing that really threatens the security of my family, my mother, is healthcare. And up until recently, I was paying $1,200 a month for it. So that's a lot. I know that, obviously Sanders and Warren want the full plate. It's going to be very tough to get that through Congress. People talk about there as if they could be dictators, but clearly, Bernie's still going to have Mitch McConnell there probably, I guess, even if he does well. So, I like all of their. I'm probably closest to Buttigieg than anybody else. I got to work for this guy back when I met him when I was 14. Carter was way ahead of his time when it really could have mattered on energy and fossil fuels, and he really paid a price for that too, because the big oil did not want Carter. But
my issues are not to have those Democrat socialists.
Everyone is though tonight.
That's what the issue is, and if we get those Democrat socialists, we're screwed.
Because?
Because they want to give everything for free.
Yay!
Yay! My father worked 2 jobs to put my brother and me through college. So you work for what you get. You want to get your college kids in, you work for it. You don't get free. Medicare, you get your 40 quarters, and that's who is entitled to it when you get your 40 quarters.
Technically, so I'm still a registered Democrat, and I voted for Obama first term, and I saw that he was a lot of speech and no action. So come the second term, I didn't vote at all because of just personal indifference. And then this last election, to a large extent, Trump spoke to me. He spoke to a lot of working class and underprivileged Americans that saw that the political system was flawed inherently, and that the politicians, although they spoke a lot of words, they didn't do a lot of actions. And the thing is that, like, now you're seeing that, like, the pushback from the Congress and the Senate, to a large extent, is literally because his action literally highlights their inaction. A lot of the reasons that most of, like, the companies that left America for foreign countries were specifically because of the trade deals that previous presidents either signed or, like, wrote into law for specifically political benefit and not for the benefit of the American people. So, like, you know, if we're in this together, then, like, you want to do things that are benefiting every person on no matter what, you know, spectrum of the political divide you fall on. We're all kind of, well, we're Americans. This is a constitutional republic, and democracy is just a clean word that we put on top of that to kind of paint a brighter picture of what we could be, but what we're never going to be, or never what we should be, because of aspects like that. I mean, I can convince 100 people to do something, and even if the one person who doesn't want to do it is actually right, if the 99 go off the cliff, you know, that's democracy. But the republic's like, no, we'll hold on to that one. The things that, like, our founding fathers might not have fully recognized, but now in this digital age, we start to realize is that to a large extent, our representatives are just that. They are a physical representation of the mindset of the people that they are supposed to represent. And when you have foreign interests, or you have like corporations, or even just personal egoistic desires take over that will to represent those who you are supposed to be representing, you have a clear change within the dynamics. And that's, like, the will of the people is a beautiful thing, but the will of the people is always available to be manipulated by cognitive bias, cognitive dissonance, or propaganda, like just outright propaganda. And you have to understand that to a large extent, most of these younger generations have been inundated fundamentally by propaganda and indoctrination. And so, like, it does, a lot of that stems back to a true truth is there regardless of anybody else's opinion. And those politicians, to a large extent, you can recognize, like, this isn't a true truth. They're just doing this because of a foreign donor, or it causes more to go into their, you know, campaign financial contributions. Clearly, through super PACs, there are foreign entities interfering with our election on both sides, because if you have enough, if you're a country, you're going to place your bets on both sides, because one of them are going to win. So, you know, why not just put your money in the pot, and now you have a say in the program that the next administration runs. Where, to a large extent, my views on Trump has been he separated himself from that so as to not be beholden to these foreign entities, foreign powers, domestic or foreign, and starting to really guide our, like, populace's understanding of the political spectrum to, like, a new kind of platform that we haven't really existed on since the founding principles of our Constitution. So it's a beautiful change that we're seeing.
I really do support the UBI that he's talking about. I do think that we'd be able to afford giving everyone a basic income. I'm from Utah, actually. I came down here to volunteer, knock on doors for Yang. I do like his policy around climate change and, like, expanding it and getting thorium on the map.
We're supporting Tulsi because her voice isn't being allowed to be heard. The mainstream media, which benefits a great deal from regime change war, will keep her out of the media because she's against regime change war. She's an Iraq and Afghanistan veteran. She's a 7-year congresswoman from Hawaii currently. She's a major in the Army National Guard, and she's seen the destruction that these wars that we've been in for decades due to our national economy, our national security, and the lives of our brothers and sisters, troops and their families. What to speak of the decimation around the world in these regime change wars. So she's against this, and she wants to bring the currently $4 billion a month that we still give in our taxpayer dollars to Afghanistan. To this day, she wants to bring all of that. So that comes out to $5 trillion a year going to these wars where we can use them here in our domestic needs, right? So Tulsi is extremely proactive in the thought that domestic policy is completely connected to foreign policy. Because of this, she's blacked out. She's against corporate money. She's against politicians buying their way into debates. So she's being kept out of the debates while corporate politicians are buying their way in.
She's the only one speaking truth, and she's the only one that's holding them to account. She knocked out all the other candidates in the debates, and they won't even let her talk anymore because she is ending campaigns. If they were to let her speak today, she would be telling Michael Bloomberg that his millions of dollars do not represent the American people.
Tulsi will come in and say we need to regulate and break up the banks, prosecute people, and that's probably the Republicans' biggest weakness, is that they...
Let's get Tulsi in then.
Yeah, so 2024 comes, that's when the economy will crash, then we can restructure, rebuild a progressive movement, because the Democrats here are a joke. Open borders, all their positions has gone too far, and here's what really sickens me.
Yang, I just want a message to the Yang people. Aloha Gang is alive and kicking. If the Yang individuals are looking for people to support, Tulsi is 100% on UBI. Tulsi and Yang were the only people that were really speaking truth to power in these debates, and both of them at different times got media blacked out.
Here's what I think, all right? This is new.
Yeah, Bernie,
Obama,
did a lot of pandering.
He's got to get
Bernie didn't have the balls to fight.
Bloomberg
I think Tulsi's a better
and
candidate
Sanders
than Bernie
together.
Sanders, in my opinion.
All right?
Yeah.
And get them to shake hands. And try to get them to work together to beat Trump. That's the only way. Otherwise, Bloomberg is going to take a third, Sanders is going to take a third, and there's nothing left.
Do you support anybody?
And one of them may even go third party. So, Obama, it's on Obama to get involved. He's the most popular guy in the country. He's got to get involved. He's got to get involved, and he's got to tell those two to get together to get rid of Trump. Unite to get rid of Trump. Otherwise, Trump's got 4 more years.
So we're part of ADOS Las Vegas. We are looking for a black agenda, right? Agenda that's specific to our people. Not just black people as in skin color, but black people as descendants of the institution of slavery. So the problem is that we've often been lumped up with other what's called minority groups, and then we're often forgotten. Although we're the front lines doing the work, civil rights movement, all these things, and a lot of other disenfranchised groups benefit from some of the work that we've done. And we're expected to vote Democrat year after year after year, although we vote Democrat year after year after year. And if a Trump wins, we get blamed, right? Because 6% of our people voted for Trump. Right, so what we want to do is we want to hold out. We want to vote down both ballot until we get specific, tangible policies that will fix the condition of our people. There's no reason that our people should be the downtrodden and be the bottom, although we've been here from the beginning of this country. We've been here since this country was built. We helped build this country in every way and every facet. However, immigrants can come and they jump over us by every step, right? It's time for us to now demand something for our work. It's time for us to have reparations at this point. Who's our guy? Tom Sire, right? He's talking about reparations.
There's really no solid, plan in place.
Nothing solid in place. We had Marianne Williamson, who was previously in. She again spoke about reparations. She put some details into it, but she's no longer in the race. So right now we're waiting for who's going to bring us specifics. We're free agents right now, right? Who's going to bring us specifics? Who's going to pick us up? And that's what we're looking for. Other than that, no vote.
It's cash payments, it's ownership, it's land, it's also government programs, it's protection. You can give us all of the money that is owed to us, but unless there's specific protections in place to ensure that we don't continue to be an exploitation class, then it's not going to matter. So it's about the government basically paying recompense for their wrongdoings towards us. We're not looking for generic fixes or something like that. We're looking for a transformative government, transformative policies that are going to actually change our lives and change our positionality within the society. So it's quite simple. They try to make it seem like it's a very complicated process, and it's not. We were actually held as a commodity, and we were, our ancestors were tracked, and our ancestors were, they were kept records of. So there's clear records of all of this.
It depends on your lineage. If you can trace back your ancestor 3 generations to an actual plantation here in the United States. So that kind of dispels the myth or the question people may have, well, who gets reparations? How do they get it? That's who gets it. It's not for black immigrants. We love them. We know that they have, gone through whatever their share of slavery and whatever country they come from, but that's a claim for them to take up with their prospective colonizer. So say for instance if it's in Haiti, they need to take it up with France or Portugal or Spain. We're here in the United States, we're taking it up with the Americans here. We are the people that actually built this country. They keep saying immigrants built it. We built it up when it was called the New World. That even made it palatable enough for immigrants to even want to come here, and we have been leapfrogged over where they take advantage of benefits that were actually set aside that were dedicated to us. We have yet to receive our reparations. Our people are hurting. We make up about 13% of the population nationwide, and Democrats know that they need at least 90% of that 13% to win anything, and they don't have it right now. So that is why we are here saying, look, before our votes go up for sale, coming to you guys. We've been coming to you for 60 years. Lineage matters. You know what to do. You know who to talk to. We have economists an economist, 2 of them actually, Sandy Darity and Dark Hamilton from Duke University, who have already crunched the numbers. They can tell you exactly what's going on, how to close the racial wealth gap. So it's not a question of how are we going to do it, it's a matter of when. It was very easy to break our people. It's going to take longer to fix us. It's just like a broken leg. You would not give me a Band-Aid for a broken leg. It takes time. It's going to take time to repair the damage that's been done to us generationally. We've been locked out of wealth on purpose. They keep bringing up the redlining and all this other stuff, but there were so many other things that we were purposefully left out of on purpose so that everybody else could get their head start. And people like to use the analogy that, oh yeah, you weren't allowed to run the race and everybody else was allowed to run, and then you were allowed to run and you can never win the race. But the better analogy is we were the shoes that they were wearing to run the race. So we basically are the ones holding it together. When you got here, it was the New World. It wasn't even called America yet. We're the ones that cleared it out, that made it look good enough for grandma from Italy to take her olives and whatever and 2 pennies and get on a boat and come over. They didn't want to do that before. They waited until after it was clear and there was a path for them to come. Then they came over. So that's why we get offended too when people say, oh, immigrants built this country. No, it was the New World. We got brought here by force. We have a unique situation. We did not come here because we wanted to. We're not immigrants. We are actually hostages. And the fact that we are even still walking around here is evidence that a crime has been committed and has never been atoned for. So instead of just judging me as being cheap, lazy, or whatever, we're not lazy, we're tired. We're not lazy, we're tired. We're tired of being told to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, or you need to work harder, you need to do this, you need to save this. You can't save money you don't have. And we, as a whole, black people save more money. We just don't have a lot of it to do because we've got bills to pay, we've got all kind of things that we have to take care of. We're not 1 or 2 or 3 people removed from a millionaire or thousandaire. We don't have that. We don't have it. We're maybe more like 8 to 10 people away. So our social capital on that is completely different to that of a white person or an immigrant. And a lot of times when immigrants come here, they'll tell you, oh no, I worked hard. It took me a lot to get here. That's fine, but you got here. That means you had to take a plane or a boat, which took money. We are claiming that we are American descendants of slavery. And that's why we say lineage matters. The lineage is what's going to define. So no one can just come up and say, and it also too, in addition to that, let's just say for instance that you did your Ancestry.com and you found out you were like 1/8 something black. But the thing is, you had to actually live the black experience. Did you go through being, you know, racially oppressed financially, physically, emotionally based on your race?
I cannot stand politicians. They're a bunch of people that masquerade as people that want to do for the people. But in reality, they're doing for themselves. They're a bunch of corrupt people that misguide the public for their own good. And if I was to vote, I would actually vote for Trump. You know why? He's direct. He is not a politician. And the only reason there's so much backlash is because the politicians are afraid that another person like Trump is going to come and be president. You know what that does to them? It puts them on the bench. It gets them to be on the bench as opposed to being on the team. So there's not going to be room for the bullshit anymore. And that is why there's so much. Take for instance, besides Obama being the first black president, besides that, tell me a few things he did for the people. Things that actually affected you. So at the end of the day, I feel like we are the real people, not the people up there. And somebody's, like, according to me, it's my opinion actually, I think somebody has done something about it and people are rushing to, yeah, he's vulgar, yeah, he talks about immigration. But the people that actually talk about immigration don't know about immigration. Do you know how long I have to wait to get a green card? Or even a work permit? Do you know how long I have to wait in line just to get a visa? Why do other people want to jump?
Where are you from?
From a country called Uganda. Yeah. Why do other people want to jump and just come and feel like the world owes them anything? The reason there's no jobs is because those people are really taking the jobs. They say nobody wants to take those jobs. But if there was no illegal immigration, the wages would be higher. So instead of taking a job for $15, people were doing it for $8 or $7. Like it's not okay. Like how many times have you heard that there's a bunch of Africans at the border and they're claiming to get into the country? Do it legally. And when Trump speaks up about these things, these are real issues that actually affect you and me. Like these people come here and they leave off welfare, taxpayers' money, and then they get free food, they get free housing because that's what the country does, but that's taking advantage. And then instead of getting the legal way, it just stays there. And you expect us to, I don't know, man, I just have a different point of view. I'm not biased, I'm just a realist.
21 years old when I first heard Bernie Sanders, man, in 1991. He said the same thing he's saying right today. The billionaires are taking everything and leaving everybody that's under full of shit. Simple. Oh, man, you can't shit in the toilet if it's full of shit, bro. Simple and plain. They're afraid of Bernie because he's different. He may be of age, but I mean, that's the new. He's been saying the same thing. Yes. He's the only politician that's been saying the same thing. It's been over 30 fucking years. That has to mean for something, man. That has to mean for something, man. You know, and the shit that's going on right now, that's why I don't look at the bullshit media no more, man. Because they trying to paint him just because he's an independent. He can't be Democratic. Socialist? Fuck out of here. Yeah. Okay, they use the mantra, Democratic Socialist, but we all understand what it is, though. It's about the people. You don't care about the people. What the fuck are you doing? Yeah. Politicians, they don't give a fuck about the people. Trump done made it apparently clear he does not give a fuck about the people. Even his supporters. But they so stuck because they watched him every night on TV. They stuck. The mind is stuck. The apprentice. He's Donald Trump. You know, that's it. But they're slowly but surely coming out of that zombie stage. You know, it's gonna happen, man. I got Bernie, man. I tell my wife, we got Bernie, man. We ride with Bernie.
Mike Kachopoli. I'm from San Francisco, California, and actually just came in here today. Just flew in today. Wanted to be here for the debate. Didn't get in because, you know, they only invite certain people into these things, but just to be there and around it. You know, I think this debate tonight was great. I don't agree with them changing the rules so Bloomberg can get in, but I think having Bloomberg on that stage with Bernie, we were able to see what this election was about. That this election is about the haves and the have-nots, those with a lot of money trying to buy an election, and those who are speaking for the people. And I think it was so apparent in tonight's debate that you have one guy who's simply saying, I love capitalism, I believe I worked hard for my money, I should be able to buy the election, I should be able to buy democracy, and if you don't agree with that, something's wrong with you, which is basically what he was saying tonight, versus another guy who's saying, no, that's not the way it should work. It's about time we have a country that's for the people, that cares about people, that cares about having a minimum wage of $15, that cares about health care for everybody, to have what Bernie said tonight many times, what every other industrialized country has, health care for everybody. And I think Bernie's message, like that man was just saying, which has been so strong and so consistent for years and years and years, 30, 40 years. We're talking integrity, we're talking consistency, and I think people are starving for a president like this, who's just been so consistent, saying the exact, you can go on YouTube, go anywhere on social media, and you'll find Bernie saying exactly what he's saying now in 1980, in 1985, in 1995, in 2005. He wasn't the guy who was supporting George W. Bush like Bloomberg. He wasn't the guy who was supporting the Iraq War like Bloomberg, welcoming him to New York in open arms in 2004. This is very recent history. And so I think what I liked the most about the debate tonight, and obviously you know I'm voting for Bernie, was that on that stage you finally had this stark contrast between the old way, the way this country has gone, the rampant, I guess you can call it capitalism on acid that this country's been about, versus the new way. And the reason why Bernie has such a great movement, because people are finally sick and tired saying enough is enough with the old way. It has not worked. We're in the situation we're in now with Donald Trump because of the old way. Donald Trump is here because we have a system, this hyper moneyism, capitalism system that has allowed Donald Trump to come into power. And Bernie wants to end that. And that's why I'm voting for Bernie Sanders.